This is a birthday gift from my daughter, a steam canner, and what am I canning? Water. It's the test run to see how it goes. So you never should do an empty canner, so I'm going to can some water. Tomorrow's project is Mediterranean Apricot and Date Chutney, and I have everything ready to go. Today I've got a lot going on in the kitchen. I'm going to start canning some Mediterranean Apricot Date Chutney. I've got a lot of prep to do for that. I had did the mistake of buying non-GMO raisins, which aren't a big deal for most people, but I have a severe pesticide allergy, and anything that could have pesticides, I will blow out from, and I've been on some pretty heavy medications from in the past. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to wash them, and I'm going to put them in, strain it through some water. Then I'm going to put it in a bowl with some baking soda and rinse it off again. And I think I'll be good. These I need to soak, and I also have dates that are in the refrigerator that I will be chopping. I also have bread to get going, wheat berries to jar up, and butters to cut, cube, savor seal, and freeze. So I've got a lot going, so I'm going to get the fruits ready for prep to be chopped. I've had some people ask about the food allergies, and I went through 4 years of testing through the Mayo Clinic, through a food allergy zero elimination diet, which was not fun at all. I got to eat, for the first 2 weeks, boiled chicken. That was it. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, boiled chicken, no seasoning, nothing but boiled chicken. Then after that, I got to add rice. By the time I got up to olive oil, because that was a non-allergen, and some seasonings, I got very creative. I would take the rice and cook it and mash it and put it on the chicken and fry it in the olive oil. And when I had a reaction, like I did once I got to squash, 1 week I had it and there was nothing, and another week, 2 weeks later, because I only add a new food every 2 weeks. And then I had a reaction. We figured out one was organic and one was not. So that started a whole nother trip down this one's got a little stem on it, with the doctors, and that's what we figured out it was. I know it's food grade pesticides, and my family can eat it, my friends can eat it, but I cannot. And they always joke that I was like this canary that they would put in the coal mines, that if ever there is something off or iffy, I'd be the first one affected, and I am. And they gave me a life expectancy that I had surpassed 30 years ago because I've been so careful with my diet. And I have been on some pretty hard prednisone diets when I ate stuff that I shouldn't have, and I was filled with sores and bleeding. It was horrible. And I remember when my daughter would sneak home a bag of Cheetos or something and I got into it. Next morning we'd wake up and everyone would look at me and say, "What did you get into?" Because I had raccoon eyes and my lips were swelled up and I developed sores. And it was from that. So I have since discovered stores that sell everything that I like in an organic form. And even then, there's been some things I've eaten that I had reactions from. I will always have reactions with corn, with spinach, but not with kale, cucumbers. But there's some things listed organic that I've had reactions to. So I'm always testing food. I'm always trying it. If I have a slight reaction, I'm always reading labels, because labels change a lot. And there are some non-organic foods I can eat. Avocados is one. Bananas is another that I've not had any reactions with. So it's always learning. And since then, and there's a period for 4 years where I had to travel with my own cooler, my own utensils. They had to be washed separate. I couldn't eat anything that anybody had. It was not a fun experience. And So at first it's very overwhelming to completely switch your diet, but we've spent 10 years doing it. And at Christmas I would always make stuff. I'd have my daughter mix up the flour outside so I wouldn't get a reaction from, but now every flour is organic, so I don't have that problem. And even then I'm careful, because when that happened, parts of my body were forever damaged, and so I've got a sensitivity. Same thing with cats. I can't even be around a cat, and I don't know if one was triggered by the other or not. So everyone says, oh, you're so lucky, you've got all these canned foods and you make everything from scratch. It's like, yeah, but I love going to a store where I can look at everything and know I can eat 80% of it, which is a Whole Foods store. Otherwise I'd get depressed, because I'd love just to have easy nights and quick easy meals. So I will often make something that will be like a quick easy meal ahead of time, but I'll do days of preps and have it in freezers or canned on the shelf, so I can just open up a can of chili or burrito roll in the freezer or something, so it's convenient for me. Because otherwise when I have lunch, it's a couple hour process just to make a lunch. And my family's gotten used to it too, because at first it was tough on them, because I had to eat certain things and they could eat everything else. And I've learned to cook so everything tastes fabulous and nobody is going without. And yeah, so one of my skills is I'm a very good cook. I'm a very good food preservationist, and it was learned out of necessity before it was an in thing, because then it became an in thing. I remember 30 years ago having to special order food from someplace out in Virginia because no place in Minnesota sold it. Then you'd slowly see aisles at grocery store that had it, and then you'd see whole stores to it, and now you're seeing a lot of other places like Azure Standards who cater to an organic whole food. And so that has really changed a lot from 35 years ago when I was first going through. Actually, I've been going through this for 40 years, longer than that, but that's when we started to know everything. So that's why I cook everything from scratch, and I'm aware of every ingredient in everything. And I'll buy something and I'll have a reaction. I don't buy that product anymore. Or there's been products I didn't have reactions with, and all of a sudden I did, and I noticed they changed an ingredient. So I am a label reader. I'm very conscious of reading, and I've learned to really cook some fantastic meals so I don't feel like I'm going without, and my family does not feel like they're going without. I remember one year with the church group, they thought it was all in my head, and so they told me at a women's thing that this was an organic salad. They went through all that, and it wasn't, and I believed them and I ate it. And as I was sitting there, about a half an hour later, my lips swelled up, my eyes swelled shut, and that's just what you could see on the outside. That wasn't what you could see on the inside. And they were horrified, and they realized at that point that it wasn't something that I imagined. It was something that I was dealing with and going through, and it was serious and not fun at all. My other best friend, I was a perfect whore for going to dinner for the longest time, but they have organic blueberry farm and they eat everything from the land. And so I was safe eating what she prepared and grew, as long as it wasn't a store-bought item like pasta or something. And yeah, so it wasn't fun. So now I still take medicine every day for the accidental thing I eat. And there is something I ate 2 weeks ago that I had a reaction from. and it was something that I could eat before. And I looked at the product and it had changed an ingredient. And I hate being like that. It's no fun. It's no fun if you get invited to eat somewhere and people don't understand that. I've gotten very good at covering it and very careful of what I eat. Typically, if I eat meats, I have less reaction, but I avoid a vegetable or a fruit at somebody's house at all costs unless I'm very sure of where the source is from. And when people come here, they're always like, oh, we love coming there because you make the coolest things. Well, yeah, it's something I've learned to do. I've learned to make everything that I like at home, whether it's ketchup or a chocolate sauce. And really, it's so easy to do. It takes 5 minutes to create a chocolate sauce using cocoa and water. And I have cream for Indian cooking, coconut cream, and I've always been careful with butter. Sometimes I'll find a butter on sale and I'll use that when I'm making a dish for somebody else that I'm not eating, but I'm always glad to find it. I've even made my own butter because for a while there it was tough, so I would buy organic cream and make my own butter. And if you've ever made butter, you know what a hellacious mess that is. The upside was with a half of gallon, I'd also make a clotted cream for tea, which was a lovely treat. So, and I have pictures of me, of what I look like when I would eat foods like that, and I don't show them. They're kind of a horror. All the doctors have seen them. They're on file. And I sure wish it would change. And as a child, I was like that too. I remember being hospitalized for the simplest things, and they couldn't figure out why. Now we know why. And it got worse as I got older because it became more prevalent. So where we live, we have never used anything with chemicals in our home because it's not just pesticides, it's anything with chemicals. All our honey, we've got honeybees, and that's organic. And we live out in the boonies and no one farms near us. Now, if someone started farming near us, that might be an issue to which we would have to decide what we're going to do, but that hasn't been an issue. And just because a food item says organic, is it really? I don't know. I've had reactions to some, so then I question. I know there's a particular type of milk and flour that I've had reactions to every time, so I don't trust that. And maybe it's because I have trust issues, because I do look both ways at a roundabout, so that's probably a sign. And there isn't anything that I can't eat a bite or two of. I just can't sit down and eat a great big meal of something. And I have to be very careful of, do I trust what I'm eating to be what it says it is? And I don't like the feel of these apricots after they've soaked, but that's what the recipe says to do. I've got my dates chopped. I lightly chopped the raisins. I have washed and soaked them. I've got this, and then I can start adding in my other ingredients, the brown sugar and the white wine vinegar and some of the spices, and get this cooked up. What is a chutney? It originated in India, and there's all different kinds. There's tamarind chutneys, there's spicy, savory, and in the old canning books, they had a lot of chutneys, and it was just something that you would have on the table as a variety. I like this particular chutney with ham. I love it with oatmeal. 2 weekends ago when my brother was up, I made an oatmeal for him, and I took apples I'd canned, and instead of pouring out the juice, I cooked the juice down to a reduction to make like a caramel sauce with it. Way too sweet, but boy, did they like that. And because I don't like to waste anything. But this chutney here I like on oatmeal, and I love on meats, especially ham, which I don't eat, but maybe 2-3 times a year. And we'll try it on all sorts of things, probably more pork products. I don't eat beef, and the bison and elk that I have, there's nothing I would serve this with, but we do occasionally have pork because my husband loves pork. And so I would serve it with that, and I will find all sorts of ways to serve this. It's so good. You could even put this on a vanilla ice cream. I know it's got a little coriander and ginger and mustard seed in it, but it's pretty much predominantly a sweet chutney rather than a savory chutney, but it's really good. Our church used to do this plum raisin sauce. It was a recipe that you cannot can for shelf stability, so then I found this one that had pretty much everything in there and then some, and I liked it better. So that's why I started canning this Mediterranean apricot and date chutney. I have all my ingredients in this pan. I've got the dates, the raisins, the apricots, the brown sugar, the white wine vinegar, the mustard seed, the ginger, and the coriander, and some salt. So I'm going to bring this up to a boil. I'm going to simmer it for about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to get my jars. My jars are prepped and ready, but I need to add hot water into them so they're nice and hot. And my daughter got me this beautiful steam canner yesterday, which I greatly appreciated. Yesterday I had made Cowboy Candy, and I lifted my monstrous canner filled with 14 jars and cursed it. So now I'm so excited. I did a maiden voyage yesterday. I canned some water. Yep, that's right. I canned water to try it because it was the one thing that if it didn't turn out, that was okay. Just pour the water out. And so I'm so excited to use this bad boy again today. This really smells amazing. The ginger really comes through, the fruit, the dates, everything. It's ready to jar up. I'm probably going to do this in 2 batches. And oh, look how thick and delicious that looks. Oh my gosh, smell-o-vision. This is going to be so good. I cannot wait until, it's the only reason why I'd choose, oops, I filled that one too full. Only reason why I would want to have ham. Take this off a little bit, which that'll be a sticky mess to clean, but oh well. And you could smell a little bit of white wine vinegar, but it's not as strong as one might think. Oh, that's going to be so delicious. Did I taste it? Yeah. Of course I did. Oh, it's so thick and rich. I'm going to get these jarred up. I'm going to use my 4-jar lids. I've been using some ball lids lately because I've got so many to use up, but this is something special. So this will get my 4-jar lids over here. And then I'm going to finger tight, not very tight, screw on the bands and get them in my canner. I could fit more in here, but I have enough for 2 batches, so I'm going to divide that and put that in the second batch. My first batch is done and ready to come out of the canner, so I got the second batch poured. And as I was wiping the rims off, I discovered a chip that I had missed earlier. So I emptied this out quick into this jar, and it's a little underfilled. So I guess I tasted too much. So this one here might I'm going to can it, and then it'll probably go in the fridge and be the first one that we eat. But this is so delicious. It's sweet, it's thick, it's nummy. Oh my gosh, so good. These have come out of the canner. Oh, that was another one sealed. These ones I just pulled out and are currently in the process of sealing. A couple of them sealed. These ones have sealed. And even though I debubbled it, I still have a little bitty air bubble in there, and it's just because it's so thick. So you really need to debubble very well to try and get all the air bubbles out. Good batch. While my chutneys are sealing, I've got another project I'm going to go on to. When I'd gotten my wheat berries here from Azure, I got home and I put them in Mylar bags, even though I'm putting it into a food grade bucket. Oh, I guess you can't see that there, right here. I had sealed them all up and then noticed condensation and realized that they were still cold from the truck. So I had unopened everything I sealed and put them in the studio with a dehumidifier for 2 days. They are now fully dried, so now I'm going to reseal them. Upon that, I inspect all the bags I cut open for reusing. And I don't know if it's because of these wheat berries or what, but if you can look, if you can see inside there, you'll see 2 light beams coming down in the corner. Those are holes right here and there. So this one is not one I'm going to reuse. This one here is one that also had a hole here, and I double sealed it twice, and now I have no pinhole in there at all. This one here, I've got 1 pinhole, which you can see in the bottom. I don't know how good, right there. And so this one here, again, I'm going to seal this across the bottom. And double check this. I'm not going to store wheat berries in here. I'm going to store something else, especially since they've been used. And now I have no pinholes in here. The pinholes have now been sealed up. So this bag I can reuse. This one, which one is it here? This one here, when I checked it, it's pretty significant. You can see the scratch there. See that scratch right there? That is pretty significant, so I'm not even going to reuse that. I'm going to toss that out. So I've got a stack here I'm going to toss out. I decided I'm going to try this again, just being extra careful about putting my berries in, and I'm not going to fill it as heavy as I did the other ones. I might go a scant 6 cups. Most of the recipes I have, this will be plenty for. And see, I just don't like these sharp edges I get, because that's what scares me about getting a hole. But I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to be using this batch of oxygen absorbers, so I need to have 10 bags ready. I decided I'm going to go 10 because I've got a whole bunch of these, so I'm going to put 2 per bag. And now I'm going to work very fast, so I'm going to shut off the camera so I can have some room, and I'm going to put 2 of these per bag and seal them and see how that goes. I worked fast, so by the time I got to my last bag, this was still pink, just starting to turn dark, and now you can see it turning dark. So I did work fairly fast to get these bags filled, and I'm going to fill the next 5. I have so many projects going at once, but the 14 jars of chutney all sealed. They've been washed, and they're written on, and they're ready to go on the shelf. Another one of my projects for today was sealing all these bags of wheat, and they all sealed really nice. And so the hard wheat, I've got hard white wheat. All of these will be going into one bucket. I just have them sitting in 2 buckets right now, but those are ready to be stored, and I have plenty in glass jars to use now. Today I'm canning a 2-in-1 barbecue sauce, but I'm only doing one. I've got 8 cups of pureed and seeded and peeled tomatoes cooking right now. I've got the peppers chopped, pureed, the onions, the garlic, mustard seed, and I'm only doing the Stampede style, which I've got mostly measured out. I've got the tomato puree reducing. I've had it cooking now for about 40 minutes. And you're supposed to cook it till it's half. It's getting thicker, so I've got another 29 minutes to go. And then over here I've got my pureed bell peppers and hot peppers and onions and garlic. I have 3/4 cup of the Steen's molasses. I'll be adding 3/4 cup of malt vinegar. If you don't have this, a regular cider vinegar would work great. 1/3 cup of Worcestershire sauce. I've also got chili powder that's going in there, 2 teaspoons of freshly ground black pepper. And once I get that all together, following the recipes, I will be canning it in my water bath canner. I want to mention, because I'm not going to film this, that you cook the tomatoes until it's reduced by half. Then you add your pureed pepper, onion, mustard, garlic mix, and you cook that for 10 minutes. Then you divide, which I'm not doing the divide, I'm just doing the one. I'm going to add in my molasses and all those ingredients there, and I'll cook that for about 45 minutes, for 20 minutes. And I'm doing half pints, and still, even if it's got the time for pints, you're going to cook the half pints. You can't go up. I couldn't go with a quart because it's not tested for that, but I can go down. So I've got half pints. I'm going to put these in rather than pints. Is done. 2 are almost sealed. The 2 big ones are altered and going into the fridge. So I dialed up the last bit and I put in some blueberry jam and a little extra molasses to try and make it more to my liking. I also read somebody had mixed in their Cowboy Candy juice after they opened a jar and really liked it, and I think that's appealing to us. And we have lots of jars of Cowboy Candy, and I'm going to be making another 6 pounds of it, so I will have jars that I can open and drain off a little sauce, add it to this barbecue sauce, which I think will make it tastier. Today I've got some Cowboy Candy I'm cooking up. I'm doing a double batch. Per batch, it's normally 2 cups vinegar. I have 4 cups of cider vinegar, 12 cups of sugar, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of celery seed, 6 teaspoons of granulated garlic, and 2 teaspoons of cayenne pepper. And while our peppers did great this year, our jalapenos were weak, so I did order 6 pounds of jalapenos from Azure Standard. The containers weren't quite a pound, so I was able to put in some of our own spicy peppers to bring it up to 6 pounds. Once I get this to a simmer, and it's just about there, I will simmer this for 5 minutes. I will add in the jalapenos and cook that for 4 minutes, simmering. Then I will take the jalapenos out, and with the slotted spoon, this bad boy right here, I will put the jalapenos in the jar. I'll put the sauce back on the stove, hard boil it for 6 minutes, and then fill it up with a cup or whatever you're going to use, and bring that up to 1/4 inch or so of headspace. Then I'm going to put the jars into a water bath canner, bring that up to a boil, and boil it for 15 minutes. And it doesn't matter if I use any small jars, the timing goes by the largest vessel, and this recipe has been tested using pints. And so I'm going to be putting pints in, but if I have a small amount, then I'll use these. But again, these will go 15 minutes. Now, if it was only this size, I could go 10 minutes, but because I'm using pints, I want to make sure I water bath can that for 15 minutes. So this is the Cowboy Candy that I pulled out of the canner. When I did this, I only filled it up to here with the jalapenos and the rest of the way with the liquid, and look how it swelled. I'm shocked at that. I think I've got 2 left that are going to, well, this one will seal. This one I'm not sure of, and that's okay because I have plans for that. I've read that the USDA, this is a chance of canning the leftover juice, but what I did is I put in a tablespoon of lemon, even though it's got a lot of vinegar in it, and I processed it in the water bath canner the 15 minutes plus another 20 minutes. Whether or not that is good enough, I'm going to take the chance. I know what I'm going to be cooking that with is going to be a meat product, and I'll be using it fairly soon. But the Cowboy Candy looks really good. So I'm pleased with how that turned out. And I dehydrated some mushrooms overnight, and they are done. So I've got a couple jars just waiting for them to be filled.